Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. In this episode, we are hearing from a mother, wife, trainer, posing, and competition prep coach who started competing in 2017 and completed 11 shows before turning pro at her 12th show ever and 7th national show in the Masters over 45 division at 2019 North Americans. I am so happy to have her here, and I just know that her mission is going to inspire you guys. So welcome to the podcast, Stephanie Fournier. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Celeste. How are you?
I am great. So excited that you are here. And like I said before, just to learn more about you and your journey in this sport. And of course, I got to kick off the episode by asking if there's something that you do or ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage.
Lots of affirmations. I put in my headphones and lots of deep breathing and just let myself know that I am ready for this moment and go out there and let my light shine the brightest.
That's awesome. Oh, I love that. And your journey as a competitor, you've coined it as being a fluke, and yet it's been so successful. Like maybe getting into it was a fluke, but the actual career itself has been very successful. And you've mentioned in post before that it's been life-changing for you. So I was actually curious if you've always been interested in fitness or if it was just you decided to compete. Like maybe walk us through how you got here.
I never knew that world of competing. Like I said, it was a complete fluke. I signed up for a gym membership and I met the owner of a privately owned gym. Her name was Kayla Enns, Fitness Mania. And I started training with them with a very early boot camp. I thought this would be a good idea for me to meet some other women who were interested in trying to get into better shape. And we just hit it off. And one day she says, Mike and I, which is her husband, said, we think you'd be really great at competing. And I was like, competing at what? Because I had no idea whatsoever what she was speaking about. And she went on to explain to me that she was in the middle of a prep and that they thought that I would do really, really well. And if I would just give it a chance, just one prep, if I liked it, I could continue. If I did not, then at least I did it. And I was hooked after that. But they saw something special in me. And I remember going home to my husband, and he's like, competing at what? Because we had no idea. And it's a funny story when people ask me about that, because I would have never thought in a million years that I would be at this point in my life competing and training and an IFBB pro. So it's been life-changing for sure.
What were you doing before? Like when you joined that boot camp, what was going on in your life?
I was a stay-at-home mom and I would walk or I would run. I would mostly run. So I was fit, but I was skinny fit. Does that make sense? I had no muscle. I did not know anything about the gym. I was embarrassed to go to the gym because I had no idea how to lift weights or anything like that. So they really opened up a new world to me. And I will forever be grateful to them. They will always have a very special place in my heart.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I think there's always going to be those people in our life who make such an impact, and maybe they don't realize it at the time. What they're saying could change your whole course of your life. And for you, it did.
Exactly. So I hope to be instrumental to my clients or women. They may not even be my client. They may just come up to me and want some advice. I hope to be that person. Because I believe that everybody has something special and unique to offer the world. And sometimes we don't always see it. And it just takes one person to be like, no, you're awesome. You can do this. I believe in you. And that's all somebody needs to hear for them to, have a little bit of momentum in the right direction.
Oh, so true. So true. And I'm very grateful myself for a lot of those people who played that role in my life. And I think it's special when we can then almost pass that on to other people.
Mhm.
And I'm so grateful to have you on the show, of course, because I think you and me both believe in the power of empowering other women, empowering women in general. And I'd love to hear what it is that inspired you to then take part in uplifting others, especially in competing, or in fitness, or just in their lifestyle.
Well, initially, I did not think about being a fitness trainer. My whole focus was competing. I just thought I'm starting a little bit later than most women, and I knew at after the first show I wanted to turn pro, and I was not going to stop until I turned pro. And it took me 2 years to do it. And I just met lots and lots of women. Nobody was ever catty. Nobody was mean backstage. And Mike and Kayla, the owners of Fitness Mania, like I said, they've been instrumental, would always say, "Hey, we think you'd be really good as a trainer." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know about that." And finally, I just decided I'm going to go for it and let's just see how it goes. And I thought, okay, I could just do it part time. And it's turned into a full-time thing with all of the girls. I've been very successful with it. And I thought, wow, it's so fulfilling to be able to be that person to help somebody have a transformation and be like, oh my God, I feel so good about myself. And you were that one person to be like, yes, you can do it. Let's get you going. I believe in you. And I just think that the world needs more of people like you, Celeste, or me, or just others who are willing to put themselves out there and be willing to see the good in other women.
Yes. Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think it's oh, actually I was watching the Fit Body Fusion did a seminar live this past weekend, and I totally wish I
Right.
went. To be honest, I thought it was only for their athletes, so I'm bummed that I didn't go.
Right.
But I watched their live videos, and Sandy Williamson started like tearing up about the camaraderie of women, and how amazing it is to see that the camaraderie among the whole sport, and how awesome that is. And she said something, she goes, when you're up there and the girl next to you wins and you don't, or whatever, it can be heartbreaking. And she referenced how Angelica was the first person to congratulate Issa. And she
Right.
said, like, that stood out to her. And she's like, don't be mad at the competitor next to you. At the end of the day, it's the sport, it's the judging. Celebrate each other. And I really liked that. And I think that resonates so much with what you're saying here, which is like seeing the good in others. And you mentioned you might have been late to the game, in quotes,
Mhm.
late to the game.
Right.
What would you tell someone, maybe other moms, who worry that they won't be able to manage a healthy lifestyle in competing and their kids, or even make it in bodybuilding if they tried?
I would tell them to just go for it, that they don't know if they don't try. I'm a mother. I have 3 children. I have 3 stepchildren. When I started competing, all 6 kids were here at the house with us.
Wow.
It was very, very, very busy time. My husband and I have our own business. He runs it, but I help him with the paperwork. So it's constantly busy in this house, but I just prioritized my time to train with my trainer at the time, and the time I needed with my coach and my cardio. And if that meant that I woke up an hour earlier before I needed to get stuff done around the house, or I went to bed an hour later to get my cardio done, I made it happen because I wanted it so bad. And I just think that if people want it bad enough, they will figure out a way how to make it happen and still meet the needs of their children and their husband, because ultimately family does come first. This sport, I believe it needs to come second. Your children, your family needs to come first. So in my life, me personally, I try my very, very best to make sure my husband comes first, to make sure my children come first, that their needs are met. If there's some sporting event going on, I don't ever miss those. And I just rearrange my cardio schedule or my training schedule to fit the needs of my family. And it can be done. And if you want it bad enough, you should just go for it.
Love that advice. So true. And I think you're a great example of it. And I would love if you could maybe share some more specific examples of how you've prioritized your time, maybe what a normal day looks like for you, and how they've adapted to your lifestyle as well.
So my normal day currently, I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I start training women at 4:30 in the morning. Um, And I specifically set out times for me to train myself. And I specifically set out a time to train cardio for myself as well. If I don't, then the day just gets very busy. I get home and, mom duties take over, wife duties take over. So that works for me, is for me to like actually schedule out time for training and cardio. That way I know it's done. And then when I come home, I'm very present with what needs to be done in the household.
That's great. I think that's important right there, is just scheduling it, making it a non-negotiable. And I was talking with a client the other day. She's like, wow, I realized I've been going to the gym like 4 to 6 days a week for the last 5 years. And it's like, yeah, when you make it a priority and you really care about yourself and you have that commitment to loving yourself and showing up for yourself, it's so much easier, I think, to say, this time is my time, and it actually benefits me in other areas of life, which I was hoping maybe you might have insight on. Did you find that changing your lifestyle impacted how you showed up for your family?
Yes, I was happier. I felt healthier. And that also was an example to my two sons who have also, I didn't think that they would, but they're like, oh, they want to eat healthier. They're always at the gym. Um, they try really, really hard to stay away from all that sugary stuff. And they have sweet tooths just like me. And so just seeing me as an example has kind of, you know, overflowed into other parts of my life with my kids. And you don't think like everybody's watching, but they do watch. And I've never like tried to put a different type of a diet plan on anybody here because this is what I've chosen. But they've just like, oh no, mom, we're going to start eating a little bit healthier of what you're eating. And it's just funny, like the kids they really pay attention to what their parents are doing. So
Definitely.
I've been happy about that, that
That's
I've been an
super great.
example of like a more of a healthy lifestyle for them.
Were you said before you were like running and you were a stay-at-home mom and you were running a lot. Was there any other difference? Did you change your whole eating? Did you change how you maybe led by example in your house?
As far as the family goes,
Yeah, family and nutrition, fitness all together.
well, when I started prep, then obviously I had to learn, they taught me how to be able to prep for my first competition. So that was very different for the whole family. They're like, oh my gosh, mom, when she goes out to eat, she has to eat a certain way. They really didn't understand it. Now they do understand it. But in the
Mm.
beginning, it was hard for the whole family. They're like, oh, you can't drink, you can't eat that piece of cake, or you can't do this. Like, why are you doing this to yourself? And I just really needed to let them understand that this was something that I really wanted to do, because I think that as competitors, we get a lot of flack from other people who don't understand the sport. And I just was steadfast with it. I said, this is what I wanted to do. And I would kind of share, like, I can still eat. My diet it was just very healthy and nutritious. It was feeding my body as opposed to feeding it junk food. And so I think like they were able to see that. And like I said, I was able to lead by example. And now everybody pretty much in the house eats pretty healthy here without me having to provoke it or me being like, okay, this is what we're eating. They just automatically are like that now. It's really kind of fun to watch without, I don't ever say anything to them, and they know that, oh, we're going to have this, and instead of fried chicken, we're going to have grilled chicken, and it tastes just as good.
Mhm. That's cool. You've been able to witness the impact right before your eyes
Right,
without
correct.
having to say, do this, do that. It's more so, let me lead by example. And that's actually what's created a massive impact.
Right. My children are a little bit older, so I would think it might be a little bit more difficult for moms who have younger children. My youngest is 16 years old, so they are already young adults, and they're able to pick up those good habits, and working out and eating better makes them feel better.
Right, absolutely. And I think if they've seen the payoff for you, whether that's happiness, more focus, more success, whatever that positive reinforcement is, and that's at all desirable to them, it makes sense why they would start making those associations between mom's fit lifestyle and her happiness, health, success, etc. Now, what if I did that for myself too?
Correct. Yes, that's exactly.
Very cool. And I definitely want to talk to you actually about your coaching business, and I want to talk to you about your prep experiences. So why don't we start with your journey through competing? Because maybe that will open us up to figuring out what led you to now coaching other competitors. And
Okay.
like I said before, you've had a super successful career, which is awesome. And I could go over every single placing you have. Like I literally have it written down because it's cool. But can you just tell us more about your journey and the feedback you were receiving through the regional shows you did, the national shows you did, and just how you had to evolve as an athlete to ultimately win your pro card?
So initially, I started off with Kim Odo, and he was awesome. He was fantastic. I learned a lot from him. He took me through my second prep. So my first prep was with Kayla, the second prep, and I did the first year with Kim. And he took me to my first national show. And I just want to interject really fast. It's so
Mhm.
important to get judges' feedback when you're competing, because with that feedback, him and I would talk about what I needed to do, how we were going to, change the next prep, what I needed to work on. And I was always pretty conditioned with my conditioning. And he just taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about the sport. He has been around for a really, really long time. After Kim, I did go to Shane because I felt that he was going to meet my needs, and I actually turned pro with Shane. And he's extremely hands-on. He is available to me at any time of the day. If I need something, he is there for me. We go over my preps. If something needs to be changed, he's very open to making sure that it fits what needs to be, what to fit my life at the time. Because everybody needs something a little bit different, and I believe that he is that person for me.
That's amazing. And was there any particular reason you decided, okay, I'm going to move on to Shane? Or was there something you felt like that would have made the difference?
Kim is very, very busy. He has so many competitors. I have nothing at all bad to say about Kim. I just felt that it wasn't a good fit for me anymore at the time,
Mhm.
and I needed something more hands-on, which Shane was able to provide for me.
I think that's awesome that you could recognize that the experience was fantastic. And sometimes it's just you need a change, and that's okay. Like it's, I think it's good to be loyal, and then it's another
Yeah,
thing to also be loyal to yourself and your goals. So I appreciate you sharing that. And this journey that you went on was interesting because you had placed, correct me if I'm wrong, top 5 in your first national show.
that's correct.
Okay. And then you went on to do some more regional shows. You swept the competition at the Governor's Cup with Spectrum Fitness Productions. Then you went on to Universe, all top 5
Hmm.
finishes except for 2 classes. And then again, mostly top 5s with the exception of a few, basically. Now,
Right.
you went from placing, what was it, at Universe to then again those majority top 5 to then 1 month later winning your pro card and masters over 45. What changed?
I believe the conditioning changed. The diet, I mean, pretty much, I think a competitor's diet, we all know we need to eat. We're all going to be eating grilled chicken, chicken breast, and it's pretty bland, right? I just think that the conditioning changed. I think the type of training that he had me do was a little bit different than prior preps before him. He's very strict, but he's very hands-on, and he is a straight shooter. He's just going to tell you the way that it is and what needs to be done in order to achieve those top level placements. And I just needed somebody just to give it to me straight. I didn't want anybody to sugarcoat it. I just want to just tell me how it needs to be so that I can get it done, because this is my goal, and I want to reach my goal. And he helped me do it. So I think he's a fantastic coach. He's wonderful, and I see a very long future with him.
Oh, that's super cool. And it's amazing to hear that as well, because it's nice that you were able to find a fit that you now want to stay with and that you feel good about, and that has helped you so much. And I think you got to have a lot of drive to go for your IFBB Pro card, whether that's someone who gets it on their first go around or 10, 15, 20 shows later.
Right.
Um, what was it that kept you going? Why did you want that so bad?
I just knew that I could do it. I I just knew that I could do it. I'm like, I know that I'm good enough and I know that I can be a great competitor. I know I can be a great IFBB pro. And I'm looking forward to hitting the stage this year as a pro. I'm super excited about it.
Woo.
But you need to have a lot of drive. You have to have a lot of drive, whether you're an amateur or a pro. You just have to have major focus because it takes a lot out of you and a lot out of your life to do this sport. And it's not like we're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. It's an expensive hobby.
Right. Yeah, people always say like, well, why do you do this to yourself? Why you put yourself through this? Especially people who don't really get the sport or don't compete in it, who don't know.
Right.
And oftentimes it's the fulfillment. It's knowing that you followed through on something that you said you would. And maybe it's bringing some level of contribution as you're displaying for yourself too. And I think it's empowering to know it's not all about the money in this industry.
Exactly. It's not about the money. No, I think it's about just reaching those goals that you set for yourself.
Definitely.
And I think it's important to also recognize when it's time to take a little bit of time off from competing to give your body a rest or to grow or to maybe spend more time with your family or spend more time with other things that are a part of your life that kind of were at the sidelines for a while you were competing.
Is that what inspired your time off?
Yes. I had promised my husband that once I turned pro that I would take a break and I was present and I did my absolute 100% best to be completely present to him and the kids, but it still takes up a lot of your time because you are so hyper focused on
Mhm.
getting that pro card. And I just think that they needed their mom. They needed 100% of their mom and not me worried about like, oh my God, I need to find a gym if we were on away for the weekend. Oh my God, we need to find a restaurant that's going to be able to meet my dietary needs if I didn't happen to bring my food or I didn't meal prep for wherever we were at. I just think they needed a break more than anything. I think families do need a break. If you are married and have children, they need that break as well because they're on that journey with you, whether you believe it or not. I know my kids and my husband definitely were on that journey with me. So I think sometimes it might have been hard for them because, I had to get up super early to go do cardio. And then at night I was very tired, especially as the competition was closer. So I was like, okay, I was just a tired mom. So yes, that is what inspired me to take some time off. And I think it's been really, really good for me. It's been good for the family. And now that I'm back in prep, they're like, okay, everybody's had a chance to regroup. I've had a chance to spend more time with the kids and my husband and do things that had not had the time to do before because I was competing so much in the past 2 years. And I think, okay, mom, now we're ready to watch you do this again. And you really do need to have that support. You absolutely have to have your husband and whoever is important in your life behind you because it's very difficult to do it without that support.
Yes, I'm so glad that you have that in your life, and you brought up some really, really great points that's making my mind go a few different places. And one of them is a place that we haven't been on this podcast. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think about like showing your kids that you're tired or that it's hard? Like, did you ever feel like you had to hide that it was taking a toll on you, or were you pretty open about it?
Uh, I mean, I didn't complain. That's one thing is I'm not a complainer. So I never complained when I was at home. I just think that they could see like, oh, I'm tired. I'm lacking some energy. And I just wanted to show them like in life, things will get hard. Life is not easy. Life is difficult at times, but you just have to keep going, one foot in front of the other. And just because you're tired doesn't mean that we stop or we quit. We may rest, but we don't stop and we don't quit. We just keep on going, especially when you have a goal. My youngest son plays football, and I know there's lots of times where he would come home exhausted and like, oh, I'm so tired, I can't do schoolwork. I'm like, no, absolutely not. You have to get that done. And I would hope that I'm an example to be like, no matter what, even when we're tired, we still have to keep going. That doesn't mean that we just quit or we don't follow through with what we're supposed to be following through with. I think, I'm sure different people handle it different ways, but that was my way to handle it.
I really like the way that you implanted the lessons with that. And I think it's important to then highlight the other phase that my mind was also going is you became a pro and you displayed
Hmm.
that great effort. And at the same time, it's okay to say, as a professional athlete, I can step back and spend this time with my family rather than saying, as a professional athlete, I can't back down and I have to keep pushing even though I'm tired and my family needs me.
You know what, Celeste, initially, because I think that you get into this mindset where you don't want to lose any type of momentum. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that in the beginning, I did feel a little bit like that. But I had remembered my promise to my husband that I would take a break after I turned pro. And I soon found out that I missed him. I missed being able to do all the things like going away for the weekend and not worried about, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss training or I'm going to miss cardio. I was able to relax and enjoy the moments with them. So I think it was a good break, but you do feel like that when you're coming off of prep or when you're coming off a long season. I think most competitors feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to stop and I'm going to lose everything that I've built up over the past 6 months or 12 months or however long it was that you're competing. Because I definitely felt like that. It took me a while to like kind of normalize myself again. It took me a while to normalize my eating, which everybody knows that's the hardest part of it all. But
Mhm.
I'm in a really, really good place now. I'm in a good place.
That's great. And that time off maybe supported you in that. And like you said, gave you and your family a reset button essentially. And you said that your training was different in the past preps that you were in to preps before that. And I was curious how if at all, your training and your prep and your improvement seasons look different, if they look different.
Yes, they do. Cardio goes way, way, way down, obviously. And I wasn't prior with preps. Usually I'm training 6 days a week and doing cardio 6 days a week. So when you're on an off season, you're not doing that much cardio. And I was probably only training about 4 times a week and maybe doing cardio 4 times a week. You know what I mean? It was just, I didn't put so much emphasis in making sure that it got done. I was still in the gym every day, doing something. I was still moving around, but I was not, it wasn't so hardcore. It was nice. It was a nice break.
That's awesome. How have you been adjusting to being back in prep and now for your pro debut?
Initially, it was a little bit hard to get started, but now I'm super focused. Momentum has definitely picked up, and I feel really good. And I'm in a good spot right now. I believe 10 weeks out. I think that's if my memory serves me correctly with the weeks. So I think I'm really, really good. Not I think, I know I'm really good. I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be just
That's
fine. And I honestly feel like, or for me, I feel like there's not as much pressure. Like I felt there was so much pressure to turn pro. And now I'm like, you know what? I am a pro now and I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna enjoy the competing. I'm gonna enjoy the girls. I'm gonna enjoy going to these competitions. So I would just want to have fun with it now.
I think that's amazing and will be great. Are you planning on competing in only masters classes or are you going to do some open as well?
Well, my coach says do open, but I think that my fit for my body type is probably masters. I think I have, I'm more muscular, and I think that usually in the masters division, since we've been training for so long, we tend to have a little bit more muscle than in the open with the younger girls who haven't had as much time to build that muscle. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited though. Either way, if I do open, we'll see how it goes. You know what I mean?
Oh my
Where I
gosh, I
fall
feel
in
like
with
you
all
would
the
do
young girls.
amazing. You seriously would.
Everybody looks, I mean, I was just at a show not too long ago and the pros, they look absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, they look all of them look absolutely gorgeous and beautiful.
Yeah, that it seems like it's actually interesting. The evolution of bikini has been cool because now everyone says, the littlest details matter. Well, the reason for that is because so many athletes have the major details down. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
that is
now it's
correct.
like, oh, the competition's hot.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Because I was at the show where Ashley just won a couple weeks back, and I was like, oh my God, I feel so bad for, for Tamer and Tarek. How in the world do they look at all of these women and be like, okay, this one is going to get it? They all looked amazing. They just looked phenomenal. It was a good show, though.
Yeah, no, it was awesome to see that unfold. And I think it's especially interesting to see how things can change from one show to the next, or from
Hmm.
judging panel to judging panel. It's fairly consistent. And like, you said, it's a hard job for them. So I always find it pretty fascinating to see what actually happens. And of course, the big lead up to some of the more competitive shows, like we just had the New York Pro, and then, we've got the Olympia, and then hopefully Arnold happens. I don't know where that's going, but
Right.
um anyway, I think it's cool. And I noticed something about you specifically when it comes down to details, and I was wondering if you could talk about it. But you wear your hair really like blonde,
Yeah.
and I want to know, like, is this something you've always done and had? Was this feedback you got?
No, actually, when I've gotten my feedback from Sandy, because that's usually the past times I've always made sure to compete where she is judging.
Mhm.
My feedback from her, she's always said my conditioning is excellent, my hair looks really good, my suits look really good. So it's always just been really blonde. That's just my preference. And I know that a lot of girls will be like, oh, well, I think dark hair is better. I've heard that girls with dark hair place better, but I just have not ever been a dark hair type of girl.
Mhm.
Especially after I turned 30. It's gotten definitely blonder as I've gotten older, but I feel prettier in blonde hair and long blonde hair.
Your hair is gorgeous. I honestly didn't think it was real at first. I mean, just it's so, the way that you have it curled and styled for the stage, it's amazing. So
They do
full, so
they do a
pretty.
really good job. They do a really good job with styling it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
I
uh,
I think V, the makeup artist, has done both my hair and my makeup the past
hmm,
5 shows, if I'm not mistaken.
well, she's doing a great job.
Yeah, she's doing a great job with it.
Now, I want to kind of maybe jump around a little bit. You had competed in a few different divisions over time.
Hmm.
And I know there's other masters competitors, especially over 40, who have a hard time deciding which classes to compete in and what will make them the most competitive or give them the best chances, especially because each class costs money to enter. So,
Right.
how did you choose which classes to compete in, and what you do to budget for your seasons, if anything?
I my strategy was to compete in every category that I possibly can compete in. Um, and I think that it's paid off. So I just got more stage time. I got more chances to be in front of the judges, for them to see me, for them to remember me, for them to, when they would remember me when they were giving me my feedback. There was sometimes I think I would compete in 4 categories. I would do open. I think I did 35, 40, and 45. If I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
I've done lots of four different categories at one time. Um, and just I honestly, Celeste, fortunately, I didn't have to budget for it. I was,
That's great.
so that was a really good. I mean, I have really good people in my life. I have my sponsor, my suit sponsor, Rachel Moore with Radiant Physique Wear. She does an outstanding job with my bikinis, and she's local, so it's nice because she can measure me in person and make sure that everything fits exactly to my body, which is really, really nice. Because I know a lot of the girls don't have that luxury of having somebody local where they can go and have their measurements taken. They kind of have to do everything online.
Yeah, definitely. And
That was my strategy, was just to compete as in many categories as I possibly can so that they can see me.
Yeah. I
That's the
like it.
honest truth.
And you said it paid off. And I mean, if you always competed in front of Sandy too, and then if you do a national show where she's head judging or judging period, it can make a
Right.
difference, I think.
I believe it does. I believe the more that you are in front of the judges, the more feedback you get and they'll remember you. And
Mm-hmm.
I know it's expensive, but I feel like that is probably the best strategy moving forward with anybody who wants to turn pro, is they just really need to put themselves out there. They need to, they need to hit that stage and let the judges see them, get their feedback, and just keep on improving. Because the sport bikini has evolved so much just in the past, 2 years, just in the past year. Like things are always constantly changing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to know that and to get your feedback and be like, okay, I need to tweak this. Okay, I'm going to do this a little bit better. I'm going to bring in my glutes a little bit more, my shoulders a little bit more.
I actually noticed you've built and retained a lot of muscle.
Yes.
What helped you with this?
Um, I I think just my diet, and I believe just making sure that I was feeding my muscles and not like I do a lot of cardio, but not doing so much where I'm burning it off too. And I just honestly, I think I'm not 20 years old, so I just have all these years of just putting on muscle too.
Mm-hmm.
I think running has helped. Running, even though people are like, oh, it burns off muscle. I don't think so. I think that it helps build muscle in your legs. You're using your entire body to run, and I think that it helps build muscle.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely, it probably would look different and does look different than a sprinter or a biker. Any type of cardio is gonna potentially have a different impact on the body, and then body style, genetics, all that plays a role. And I think what you just said is that time. And if you're doing any sort of time under tension, the more you have, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times the better you're gonna look, especially um, if you are among other more dense competitors or muscular competitors. And that's something I'm growing to accept as being younger. I'm like, okay, just keep working. But it's okay. But that's the thing. If we love it, we keep going
That
and
is
it
true.
pays off.
That is true. Honestly, my choice of cardio right now is the spin bike. So I go to spin class. I try to do spin class 3 to 4 times a week and then stairs the other days. I think that has really helped me keep my muscle in my glutes and in my legs.
That's great.
I absolutely love those classes. They are the best for me. They really do it for me. So I'm happy to do them. I know not everybody enjoys spin.
Nope, including me. I'm like, I don't have much to say.
You're like, nope, pass. I don't want to do that.
I know my sister loves spin. My boyfriend mountain bikes. My dad mountain bikes. I'm not so much into spinning or any of that, but I have cardio that I enjoy. Like I ran my whole last prep. That was great, and mostly because the gym was closed. And then I like the elliptical and walking on an incline. I find those to be. I just really like them for recovery and also for the cardio aspect.
Well, did your body change differently with all the running? Because running's really good for you.
Yeah. Okay. So like I actually noticed that I felt like my legs leaned out much
Mm-hmm.
faster than in years prior, where I would maybe only be doing elliptical or only be doing if I was doing like hit or sprints. Now
Right.
I did do stuff outside like jump rope and plyos and things like that in addition to my cardio, because when you get closer you got to
Yeah.
really condition. So
Right.
yeah, I did notice a bit of a difference, but I think it was sometimes hard for recovery, but once I got into it for a long period of time, it became easier. And sometimes my runs, I just had to pace different.
That is true. I do love running too. I find myself in the gym a lot, so it's easier for me to do the spin class or
Yeah.
the cardio equipment. But if people are able to get outside and run, I think that is really so good for you mentally to get out of the gym and
Mhm.
and just go out there and do your cardio outside. It's important, but running is so good for our bodies. So I can completely see how you would have leaned out. Your
Yeah.
legs would have leaned out faster with the running. It's good.
Yeah, it was. And like you said, mentally just being outside, and I was doing mostly trail running. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, like I'm blessed to live, like my backyard is full of trails. And then if I wasn't running trails, like all of our streets, there's hills. So it's just, it was really it was awesome to challenge myself and take new, there's something about mixing it up too. Like you said, when you get outside of the gym,
Mhm.
you mix it up, you're
Yeah,
taking new routes, you're seeing what you can do. Like sometimes I'd run routes in reverse just to see if it felt different. And yeah, I would encourage others to do that too. And if you're not into running or you can't, like maybe just go. And when I say can't, I
right.
mean your coach doesn't want you to or whatever. So you can do something, even if it's just walking. It's such a relief.
It is. Even if it's just a 15-minute walk, just to get out and breathe some fresh air and kind of just reflect on your life. And I think it's good. It's really good
Absolutely.
to get out there.
Yes. Taking that fresh air and the nature and yeah. But you also, like you said, spend lots of time in the gym. And I had noticed that you, and I think you mentioned earlier that you had a trainer that you would work with. So you would have your programming from Shane and then you would go and execute in the gym with a trainer.
Yes. So I had a trainer for about 2 years. Her name is Carrie Hughes. And we were fantastic, super good. My training was really good. We followed my programming, how Shane set it up. And then as I myself became a trainer, I just became very, very busy. And it was just easier for me to just train myself.
Mhm.
So, and we, I still see her in the gym. We're friends. We still speak. We have a very good relationship. But now I train alone, or I'll train like maybe with one of my friends. We'll train together. But she's very busy and I'm very busy. And it was just our schedules were just not aligning properly. So that's been different for me, as well as learning how to train myself and not so much as lean on somebody else to be like, okay, do this, do this, do this. So that's been really good for me too. I've had to grow and be able to do it on my own.
I find that so interesting because,
Mhm.
we get our programming from our coach and we execute it, of course, but there is something different about having someone there, maybe pushing you in a different way or encouraging a
Or
different way.
or being accountable, like, you
Mhm.
can't slack off, they're gonna be like, okay, this is what needs to be done, or you have to show up at a certain time, and that's your time and you get it done. But when you train yourself, then you're like, okay, let me run to the restroom really quick. Oh, somebody just stopped and talked to me for 5 minutes. But when you have a trainer, that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, no one's
Mhm.
going to stop
That's true.
and talk to you and take that time away from you, because they know that you're training with somebody and you have that time slot and you need to get it done. But when you're not with the trainer, you're training or somebody else, then I think that people, they're just trying to be nice. They want to just chat with you for a couple of minutes. But when you have 10 people trying to chat with you for a couple of minutes, it really eats up your time.
And especially if you work at that gym.
Yes, right. And then because you know people and they're like, oh, hey, Steph, how's it going? How's prep going? And they're just interested. So it helps to have headphones. It helps to have a hat on and to kind of just like, just grind it out, and people know, like, okay, like, obviously she looks a little serious. Maybe we shouldn't bother her.
Yeah.
So that's been a challenge. That's been a little bit of a challenge, is me learning how to be able to just train myself and stay focused, and not kind of like when someone wants to chat. I'm super, super nice. So I have a hard time being like, okay, well, let me get back to my workout.
Yeah.
I'll want to be able to talk to them and stuff like that. So I'm learning how to be better and making sure that when I'm training 100% and not stopping or get sidetracked with somebody.
I love how you're always learning and you're committed to learning. And it's interesting hearing you say that because we just had another athlete come on and she was saying how one of the things she changed was actually she started letting people talk to her in the gym.
Mhm.
So I think it's an interesting contrast because we all need something different. And I think that
Right.
that can change over time. And I think there's some days where I go in the gym and the people who usually talk to me know, like, all right, don't talk to her today. And then there's other days where they're like, okay, yeah, like we can shoot the shit basically and just it's fine. And I still focused. And I think it's important, like who you talk to. Are you talking to people who are also serious or
That
you
is
just,
true.
you know what I mean? So I think it's, like I said, I think it's awesome that you're still learning. And I think we all are. Like, I struggle with it sometimes too, because it's hard to tell someone like, great, nice to talk to you. I'm going to go literally one foot away, but don't talk to me anymore, because
Yeah.
you don't want to say that. And especially if you're enjoying the conversation, it doesn't mean you're not enjoying it. It just means, you need to focus somewhere else too.
Right. Because that is true. It does eat up a lot of your time. And then something that should have taken you 1 hour, it's going to take you an hour and a half or an hour and 40 minutes to get it done.
Right. Yeah.
So
So
you have to prioritize. That's the main thing is and you have to just very nicely be like, okay, I'm going to get back to my workout now. And usually people like are receptive to that. They're like, okay, it was nice talking to you. And they kind of just let you go and do your
mhm,
thing.
definitely. I'm so grateful for the people that I see at the gym every day. It's nice to see those same people or talk to them. And at the same time,
Hmm.
like, it's also good to know that you can set that boundary and it'll be responded to well. And you yourself are a trainer, you're helping other people achieve their goals. So you're navigating these waters yourself, but you're also supporting others in this. And something that I think is cool is you not only started competing by fluke and you fell in love with it and you did so well and you became an IFBB pro, but now you're also helping others. So I'd love to hear what makes your coaching style or approach unique when it comes to working with competitors.
I believe I am unique because I've been there and I know what it takes. I know what that grind feels like. I know when they're getting tired, I can see it. Um, and I've experienced it. And I know how bad they want to do well. And I feel like when you've been through that and you've had as a coach, when you've been through that and you've had all those experiences, then you pretty much know what your competitor is going through or what they're going to be needing or how they're going to be feeling, and you're able to adjust accordingly based on your experiences with them. I genuinely honestly want them to do well. I really, really want them to do well. But I also try to make them understand that as long as we're giving it 110%, you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, you're bringing your personal best. You may not place first, at that particular show, but you are going to feel good that you gave it 110%. Whatever you could, you gave it your all. And it's really up to the judges on that show day. It's up to who showed up on that show day. And I recognize that. And I've told them, I'm like, I haven't placed first. I've placed pretty far down that list before. And I know how it feels. It's discouraging sometimes. You work so hard, and you're like, okay, this is it. This is it. And then you don't place as well as you wanted to place well. But you just keep going. You just keep going. You just keep showing up. And that's how you get to your goals is you just keep showing up. You do not give up. And that's what I try to explain to them. You just don't give up. You keep on showing. If this is something that you want to do, you just have to keep on showing up and keep putting in the work. And I think I'm pretty relatable. I care about them. And I just like everybody that's been on my journey and has cared about me. Like, I feel like that's brought me to where I am now as a coach and as a trainer. I care about my athletes. I care about the girls that I train. And I think it's really important. Like, you have to be genuine. And I feel I'm really genuine. And I give that off to them, that good energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I like how you said that you can relate and you can almost expect what they're going through. And sometimes, like, when I'm personally talking to a client, and I don't do the training or nutrition anymore, but when I'm talking to my clients, I just think I get overwhelmed with this thought of, wow, this person is so committed to their
Hmm.
journey and their goals, and they're working with me and they're putting this trust in me. And you show up and you expect and and when you've been through something they've been through, it just adds that level of like, I feel you, I get what you're experiencing, and I know it can be really hard or really rewarding or whatever it is. And you can almost I guess empathy is really the word here. It's
Right.
empathy. You're empathizing on a different level. And that's not to say coaches who have never done it before can't, but I think there is something to it. And you know exactly why they want it or what's driving them. And That's really powerful. And I think it's great that you see that and that sets you apart. And I also like how you want to make an impact. And you talked about that mission earlier, but what was it that made you go like, okay, I not only want to work at the gym, but I also want to just begin my own coaching business?
Somebody approached me and they said, I was referred to you and I would really, really like you to coach me. And at first I was a little bit like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I want to, because it really takes a lot out of you. You want to be there for them. You want to be there when they compete. And I said, let's do it. And she's been her first show. She was very successful. And we're going to be doing the Sacramento show, the NorCal show coming up on the 12th.
Nice.
And so I'll be up in Sacramento in a couple of weeks with her. And then I have two other girls who have decided to come on board too. So it's been life changing, like I said. This year has been really good to me. So this is going to be fun. This is like I'm starting a new journey. This is something very different with the competitors, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm excited. I'm very
Mhm.
excited to see how well they're going to do. I'm super excited to see their transformation, and I think they're excited too. It's exciting when somebody first starts and they're like, "Oh my God," and they get their pictures, their stage shots, and they're like, "Wow, that's me." Because I remember feeling like that too, like, oh my God, I can't believe that's what I look like. I've changed so much in 14 weeks, or I've changed so much in 12 weeks. Our bodies do amazing things.
Truly. And how
Hmm.
empowering it is to see that our actions can create such an impact on our own body and our life and how we feel about ourselves and even, just that process. And I love how you were able to embrace that referral and then say, you know what, I can do this for more. I can take this further and really inspire people through this and see the impact of that. Now, obviously you've given us so much insight into various subjects today. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think I should have before we get into your best advice?
And no, I think we covered quite a bit. We covered a lot.
We have. I know. I'm grateful for that. I'm so glad that we were able to. I'm like, wow, we got through everything, which makes me happy. So I would love to hear your best advice then for girls who've never competed before but would like to. And then your best advice for girls on their road to pro.
My best advice for somebody who is wanting to compete, who never has, is I would say just to get started, just to go for it. Um, and not to give up. Like you'll never know how far you can go unless you get started. And my advice for the girls trying to trim pro is you have to keep on showing up. And the more times you get in front of the judges, the better. And get your feedback, take that feedback and use it to your advantage. And every time you show up with a new and improved body with whatever the feedback was from the judges.
Amazing. Awesome advice. And such a wonderful way of wrapping up the episode. And of course, we just talked about your coaching. So I'd love if you could share how people can maybe work with you and then also just connect with you and share how much they love this episode.
Oh, definitely. Well, they can connect with me through Instagram, and I'm at IFBB underscore pro underscore Stephanie. They can message me. Um, and I return all of the messages. I'm pretty quick about returning those messages. I would say within
Yes.
24 hours. I'm pretty fast with returning those. And just if they have any questions, I would love to, help anybody out, honestly.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming on here and just being you and sharing so much of your experiences. I've really enjoyed it. I felt like we were just having a friendly, like we said before we started recording, I literally just felt like I was talking to a friend the whole time. So thank you.
Thank you. It was an honor, and I really appreciate you having me.
Of course. And I will put all your links in the show notes page. You guys, that's always at celestial.fit/podcast. If you're listening right away, it's at the top of the website. If you're listening in the future, scroll down to the category section, click on Stephanie Fournier. It's Fournier. It's all in alphabetical order. So you'll be able to find it. Or you can DM me and I'll just find it for you. And thank you guys for tuning in. Please, it always helps if you share this with your teammates, your friends, or you leave a review. That way we can get it out to more competitors others, get these stories out to more people, inspire others like you who may be killing it in cardio, driving to work, whatever it is, wherever it is that you're listening to this. I just appreciate the support so much. And I look forward to many more episodes with you all. And with that being said, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode.